Dan Perry here with another C++ tutorial for Dan on Tech, and in this video we're going to start looking at data input, and we're going to begin with the cin command. Now in the previous videos we've looked at the cout command for getting output to the console or the screen. Well, our standard input device is the keyboard, and to get information from the keyboard we use the cin command, cin, and the cin command allows keyboard input. Now, we use piping symbols to separate elements or variables, but unlike the cout where we use the less thans, we use the greater thans here, and then we would use a variable that we wanted to store the number in. So here, if I do cin two greater thans and an I, I'm saying take from the keyboard, the input from the keyboard, and place what's typed into the variable I, and I had defined I as an integer. So now what we're going to do is output the value of I once we've entered it. Okay, so we have done the cin. Now let's just do a cout and output that value of I. And remember, all we have to do if we want to output the value of a variable is put that variable name there. Well, I'm going to go also and go ahead and put an endl to move to the next line. Now, realistically, to make this output look a little better, I probably ought to go back and put some sort of a message here to help us identify what it is. So here I'll say I is, or I equals, and then the value of I. So what we've got now, we've got a cin, or we've defined an integer value, a cin, to allow us to enter it from the keyboard. Now notice I've given it a value of 1. That doesn't matter because whatever value I type in is going to replace that 1. So let's run this and see what happens. And we've got a blinking cursor. I don't know what to do. Well, since I wrote the program, I do, and I'm going to put an 8 and enter, and now it says I equals 8. So what it has done for us is it initialized an integer I, and it initialized that integer I to a value of 1. But the next thing we did was we had a cin statement, and the cin statement is why the cursor was just sitting here paused. Once I entered a number and hit the enter key, then it went on to the cout statement. Well, I was replaced, that 1 was replaced with the 8, the number I typed, and then on the cout statement it said I equals, and then the number that I typed, which was I, or 8 rather. Now, this is bad because the cursor was just sitting there, and I don't know what it wanted me to do. So here's what we really want to do when we have cins. What we want is, before the cin, we want a cout statement that prompts us and tells us what to enter. So I've got a cout statement that says now enter an integer. When I rerun this, what it will do now is it will prompt me. It says enter an integer. So I'll go ahead and put a 6 this time. And when I enter, then it continues on. Anytime you have keyboard input, you should always prompt the user for the information. So here with the cout, I'm saying enter an integer so the user knows what to enter. Now, with the cin, we can actually input more than one value at the same time. Let's say I also set something car, call it A, and I won't initialize it. So I've created a character variable A. Let's go ahead now and let's add another message here. It says enter an integer and a character. And add a cin. And let's ask for I, and now I'll do another piping symbol and the variable A. So now I've asked for two things on the same line. And then let's go ahead and output that information. So we'll see what happens. And so when we run it, it's going to ask me for an integer like it did before. I'll put a 4 this time. Shows me the 4. Now it says enter an integer and a character, so I'll do a 7 and a J. And I separated them by space. And it replayed or output the 7 and the J. Now, this is not a good practice. You should not ask for more than one piece of information with the same CN, because your user may or may not understand what to do. They may have entered a 4J. They may have entered a 4 and pressed enter and then a J. So it's best to have every data entry element on its own line. Okay, we'll go ahead and pick up with input with the cout statement in the next video. And don't forget to subscribe to this playlist for more videos.